I always loved my front yard, walking outside, seeing the sun, seeing the greens and everything. But right now, my front yard, it's totally different. My youngest son hates it because he has no privacy anymore.
Nothing's unusual for Jamal. And everything's possible. So he went and bought 2 big tents from Bunnings, and he set up a drive-through COVID testing clinic by himself.
So a lot of people have said it's a bit crazy to put the tent out in the front yard, but I think that just shows the essence of who Dr Rifi is as a person. Actions speak louder than words, and he's a man full of actions.
Look, one will say that actually it is unusual to build a tent in my front yard. I was responding in the most sensible way to a potential exposure to a deadly virus. But if we're talking about unusual, mate, my whole life I wasn't usual. My whole life.
Medicine, for him, it's not just a job, it's not just a profession. Medicine is another mode of expressing his sincerity to social justice.
It is our privilege to vaccinate Canterbury bank stamps workers because you are essential and you are dear to all of us.
The thing that really drives him is that desire to help create a better society.
You're not just protecting yourself, you're also protecting our communities in the area.
Everyone knows about him, even if they don't know him personally.
I'm a general practitioner for 30 years, mate. And how can I give you a needle that you're not going to feel it?
If anyone's in any sort of a problem, they say, oh, who am I going to call? Oh, Dr Rifi.
Is that it?
That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you, doctor.
I told you I'm not bad at it.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamal was very outspoken when it came to the issue of religious extremism that Australia was caught up in a few years ago.
Our young people are being bombarded with these negative messages and then actually being taught how to hate.
And here we are a few years later, and he's fighting a different war. This time the war is against COVID.
You're right-handed?
Yes.
Give it to your left. It's better.
And because Dr Rifi lives and works in Belmore, he's on the front line of the outbreak in Sydney.
Okay, get you to wait for 15 minutes.
He's in a race to get people vaccinated as we see the Delta strain absolutely rip through the community.
Tonight, lockdown extended. Tough restrictions to remain in place across Greater Sydney.
I definitely see there is a link of my work that I have done against extremisms in the past and my work that I'm doing right now against COVID itself. They both are killers and they are both are nasty. One is a virus, the other one is an ideology. But both of them are very damaging to the common, decent human being.
When I was growing up in Lebanon, there was a civil war. That was a difficult time for my family. I had 7 brothers and sisters, but my little brother, he fell ill and unfortunately passed away. I still feel and relive these moments. And I feel the agony of my mom at that time. And that's when I made that decision. I want to be a good doctor that saves life.
I was born in Lebanon, but we came out here when I was 3 years old. I first met Jamal when I was 11 or 12. My parents and I had moved back to Lebanon. You know, he'd play out, you know, on the street playing soccer with his friends, and I sort of had like a crush towards him, and he must have had the same back towards me.
Because of the war in Lebanon, I had to travel and study medicine in Romania. So here I am, 19-year-old, in a country that I did not know anything about. And I don't even speak one word of Romanian.
After I did my HSC, we went back to Lebanon, and he was in Romania at that time. As soon as he heard that we were there, he dropped everything and he came to Lebanon to spend some time with us.
And I think that was the best decision I've ever made. And I fell in love
Jamal and Lana's story is a beautiful one in itself. He ended up leaving Romania, where he's established, to come here completely unable to speak English and start all over again. But he does that because he wants to be with Lana.
The way he learnt English was that he went to the Institute of Languages in Randwick, and he also stayed up a lot at night listening to the radio station, and he'd engage in talkback radio shows.
Turn it up, sweetheart, you got no idea.
It's hard enough to become a doctor, but to become a doctor in 2 languages, neither of which are your native ones, Romanian and English, well, that's pretty exceptional. And I think that in itself speaks of the amount of work that he has put into becoming a doctor.
Ah, this is excellent. Give me 5. Good girl. Let me have a look on the other one.
When you go and sit in Jamal's surgery to talk about whatever, there's this little side door. The patients come through one door, but there's always someone knocking at this other door, and they've got some letter for him, or they've got some little problem to solve, or someone he needs to talk to help them.
So you're going to send it from here to Dubai, and then from Dubai go to Syria?
Jamal has always been a community person because he loves it. And I said to him, you do so much, why do you do it? He said, I love to do things like that. I love to help the people. I think it's in his genes, and his father was like that as well. He was a community man.
There is a significant issue of Lebanese gang crime in southwest Sydney. Now, this is not a new issue. It's been discussed for some years now.
Southwestern Sydney in the late 90s and early 2000s was a place where there was a high level of crime. There was underachievement in the schools. Some of the schools. There was violence. Jamal, as one of the doctors within the local community, started to speak about some of the things that were more community-based and starting to say, well, what can we do so that we make sure that our kids have got more opportunity than what they've currently got?
It began as a street party on Cronulla Beach, a show of solidarity in support of lifesavers who'd been bashed the week before.
The Cronulla riots was a turning point for the majority of us.
Fueled by sunburn and beer, the mood turned ugly. Anyone of Middle Eastern appearance was set upon as the crowd became an angry lynch mob.
A day where Australians are fighting each other based on the colour of their skin. Anglo-Celtic people attacking Muslim people attacking Anglo-Celtic people.
I just remember my father on the phone all day, and I remember sitting thinking, what is going on? What is going on? And it was one phone call to another.
I was able to taste the hate that was engulfing and motivating these people to do what they have done. And I immediately wanted to go and meet with some community members and talk with them about strategy and what needs to be done. And I felt we all have to work hard to put a stop to it.
He saw that his community and everything that he'd worked for in terms of tolerance and understanding was at threat. And he came up with the great suggestion of the surf life-saving course.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. On the Same Wave was, I think, a great initiative in terms of, forcing people to get to know each other.
This is the dodgiest carrier I've ever seen.
I think we trained 20-odd lifesavers who are Muslim lifesavers so that we can try and create a bit of a respect for the waves and introduce people to a different culture as well, that people from, say, the Lakemba area could experience that Australian iconic role.
I felt there wouldn't be anything better than having a Muslim surf lifesaver patrolling Cronulla Beach and interacting with the local residents to change perception.
In 2009, Jamal walked the Kokoda Trail with young people and politicians from the 2 major parties.
The Mateship Trek is something that Scott Morrison and I put together. We brought 4 young lifesavers from the surf clubs of Cronulla and 4 young Muslim men and women from the streets of Western Sydney.
It's so cold!
Just hold it like that for 1 sec.
He really was the one who made sure everyone was okay. I remember on the first night, everybody's tents went up, and Jamal had a little thing which he stuck on the outside of his tent because he was with 2 politicians, and it said, no junk mail.
Everyone who died here died for the future of all Australians, and that's all of us.
It's been a privilege to be amongst you all. Islam is our religion, but Australian is our nationality. Thank you all.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
This is a prayer mat, but this is actually thick one. I reckon gonna get one.
Yeah, that's nice. Religion was always important in our family. We always had a sense of religious identity. But religion was never a suffocating thing for us. It was always free and liberal.
Gee, you're going for bold colours, Lana.
No, I'm just trying this one.
So,
Islam to me is a way of living. It's the way you conduct yourself.
It's a good quality one, this one, you know. It's all about being a good person, you know, looking after your fellow, you know, mates or sisters and brothers. You know, they're very comfortable.
all right, yeah.
And if there is Allah, you speak against it. And if you see injustice, you start to stop it. If you can't do it by your action, you're doing by your words. This is my life, that's the way I do things.
Today, the Islamist group ISIS declared it has established a new Islamic State or caliphate, ushering in a new era of international jihad.
I had been thinking about making some public statement against the Islamic State because their action become more and more barbaric.
And he said it might affect us, like security-wise. I said, well, we'll just take whatever, you know, we'll take it step by step.
When I saw the picture of Khalid Sharroof's son holding the severed head, I was shocked because I had known his family in Lebanon. I had to speak out.
My message to Sharroof, mate, don't pretend you are Muslim. All your actions are non-Islamic. Don't pretend you are a good father. You are a despicable person.
I felt by denouncing the barbarity of the Islamic State, I was speaking on behalf of the majority of the Australian Muslims who don't agree with their action.
When he spoke out about IS, he was getting criticised on social media a lot.
He's received a lot of unpleasant social media. And when he receives them, you know, we all receive them because we're a solid family unit.
After I did condemn that picture, a police officer called me and said, Jamal, I just need to warn you, there has been a death threat against you.
I was concerned that someone might walk into the surgery because it is it's a public place. This is the quail.
All right. How would you like for us to do the steak, Lana?
You know, we like it well done.
Well done.
But not burnt.
Fortunately, after all this saga that happened with the Islamic State and all that sort of things have quieted down a little bit for me. It gave me a breather.
I'm getting hungry.
Without any doubt, I reckon we nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, I want them to be done slowly.
He was looking forward to retirement a lot. He's always told me, like maybe 15 years ago, that when I retire, I want to go around Australia and see our own backyard. Like, instead of seeing overseas, let's, you know, see our own country, you know, the country that we, you know, has been good to us.
A deadly virus that emerged in central China has claimed 6 lives, with warnings that number could grow.
In February 2020, the minute I've heard about COVID-19, I had to go through a steep learning curve, trying to read about COVID-19 every minute of the day. And at the same time, got book about managing pandemics.
Meanwhile, there's been another spike in coronavirus cases in China.
We are living in unprecedented times.
Belmore is a very multicultural area. I felt that we are in a very high-risk environment. We may get someone who traveled from China, and I need to protect myself and my patients.
I guess Dad's natural instinct just kicked in. So his thoughts of a retirement was put off because when the COVID pandemic came, it's just his natural instinct to put the boots on, put the scrubs on, and just get to work and lead the way.
We have decided to open a corona clinic and a respiratory virus clinic
away from the surgery, but next to it.
It's classic Dr Rifi, unconventional, but ultimately aimed at getting a result. I mean, how many people would think to put up a tent effectively in their front yard so people can drive through and get tested?
Over time, we added to the tent. We wanted to make it bigger and stronger.
And he wasn't asked to do that. That's just Dr Rifi being Dr Rifi, who just steps up. He sees a gap, he steps into the gap.
I am the eldest out of his children, and I'm a registered nurse. So when we started doing the testing, it was just me and him, and we would do, Monday to Friday. Then we thought people need to come in on a Saturday as well.
Say, there you go.
Then a week or two later, Dad would come up to me and say, Faisal, we should probably open up Sundays as well. So it just became just COVID, day in and day out.
I know that I worked myself to exhaustion, physically and mentally. And every patient from there posed a risk to me as a potential carrier of the virus. And that it's taken its toll on me. So I focus into something that will give me some probably relief and diversion from my thoughts.
He's always wanted to travel around Australia, so he started looking at motorhomes. And he looked at them every single night as his de-stress. And within a few months, he was like a motorhome expert. It was the only thing that kept him going every day, really.
It gave him like hope that at the end of this, he'll retire and then he can just go away and look and see Australia the way he wanted to see it, yeah.
Dad's plan was to hopefully be retired and in his motorhome driving around Australia by July. But when we got news of the vaccines, he had to get involved.
All right, Richard, we're going to give you this injection, buddy.
The idea of the vaccine, that's what kept me working even till now.
That's great.
And there is only one way out of this pandemic tunnel, and that is vaccination.
Tonight, the unrelenting spread of the Delta variant, a record number of cases and no respite in sight.
This is literally a war, and we've known we've been in a war for some time.
When the Delta strain came along, I think then he realised that he can't go away at this time. He needs to step up further.
The Delta strain is very infectious, and we needed to go and immunise everyone.
Well, Dr Rifi's been brave enough to go out into people's homes to make sure they get vaccinated. They could have been homebound, they could have been hesitant for whatever reason. But for many of them, him coming to their door and vaccinating them in their home made an enormous difference.
Well, Dr Rifi did play a part in changing people's minds, in convincing them to take the vaccine that were hesitant in the beginning. And he did that by being able to decipher the government's mixed messaging. He did it by speaking to people on the ground in their own language.
So I'd like to give the opportunity to deliver the message in Arabic right here on Drive.
You want me to read it on 2GB in Arabic?
I would love you to, yeah.
Okay. رسالة لأبناء جاليتنا الكرام.
Dr Rifi tries not to criticise anyone, but when someone needs to be criticised or government, he doesn't shy away from it.
Without any doubt, the government should have done better. They should have developed a media strategy with Australian of non-English background. For years, we were working about countering violent extremisms. And some genius out there in Canberra comes in and says, arm yourself.
Now's the time to arm yourself. Your family, your friends, your workmates.
Now, how am I going to translate this in Arabic? Arm yourself? That means get a gun or get a shotgun and arm yourself. Look, it sounds very well to the general population, but it sounds very bad to my side of the Arabic-speaking community. You can't go and tell them arm yourself when you were fighting radicalisation for the last 5 years and countering violent extremism. That was a bad decision.
And we're gathering together today at a time of a very significant global wave of the Delta strain of the virus.
In the last few weeks, I've been part of community engagement Zoom meetings with the Prime Minister. I'll communicate with him about the reality of what's happening on the ground in southwestern Sydney and what needs to be done.
I want to extend my same thanks to all of you for the leadership that you've been providing.
I know the Prime Minister because I walked the Kokoda Trail with him in 2009. It's not tricky for me to be friends with the Prime Minister and criticize the government at the same time. There are things that actually say well done. There are other things that said these things needs to be done.
Sydney's southwest remains the area of greatest concern for health authorities, with about 2/3 of today's cases from that region.
Certain parts of southwest Sydney were being blamed effectively for what was going on, when in reality the message had been unclear, and it was left for people like Jamal to step in and to fill in that gap and to make sure that we got the message through as clearly as possible.
Look, without any doubt, there are a lot of gaps into the government response to this pandemic. And it's not up to government itself to respond. It's up to every individual to respond. A few months ago, a friend of mine was diagnosed with COVID-19, was taken to hospital, he wasn't doing so well, and I proposed to him that he should send a warning about not to go through what he went through. So 2 days later, he sent me this unscripted video, and it was coming from the heart.
رسالة هيدي لكل الأهل، للأصدقاء، للجالية بشكل عام.
And when I heard it, I felt everyone should hear that video. We need to disseminate it far and wide.
برجع بقول إنه إذا كل الأهل، كل الأصدقاء، كل الناس اللي بعرفها، هذا الفيديو أنا عم بعمله لحتى أنتوا يعني يوصلكم وتتأكدوا إنه الموضوع.
They knew that this message was going to be very important, that people out there that were hesitant or weren't convinced that COVID existed got to see that message from someone they knew and someone they trusted.
Overnight, we had about 9,000 people who watched that video, and I had numerous phone calls from community members inquiring how they can get a booking for the vaccination.
First of all, I just want to thank you, because I haven't thanked you face to face for that video. Khaled is doing quite well. I even vaccinated his wife and his relative.
I have to do because I love my country, I love the people.
But I don't think Khaled knows the significance and the magnitude of what he did.
We owe you a lot, mate. Your message was spot on. Your video was spot on.
There was a fair bit of anti-vax information that was out there. Dr. Jamal played a really important and leading role in correcting misinformation, in correcting things about anti-vaccination, conspiracy theories. When Jamal and I both posted photos of ourselves being vaccinated, I was absolutely shocked at the way that we were trolled.
A lot of people out there, they have weird ideas, like I'm doing the work of the devil, or I am also working with the government to achieve control of residents.
You know, the backlash has just all started again. You get people driving past the testing clinic and they'll just beep their horn as they drive past and start swearing, or some people start spitting outside the window. You know, some people start accusing you of being a sellout.
There was a march in the CBD against vaccination, against the lockdown, against everything else. And my reaction was, in my hand, I have a vaccine against the Delta strain that's going to protect the most vulnerable in community. But unfortunately, I don't have a vaccine against these idiots who are marching in the middle of Sydney. No vaccine against stupidity.
Many across the disability sector remain concerned at the slow rollout of the vaccine.
When I heard on the radio a call for help about a group of disabled persons who are very vulnerable, my immediate reaction was to pick up the phone, call the radio station, tell them that I'm happy to vaccinate them.
We're going to give you an injection in the left arm right now. Okay, it's not going to hurt.
So Dr Rifi's been out this morning to several of our group homes and vaccinated those people in quite a tight operation.
It's a military precision operation.
So 120 all up, and next week he's coming back to vaccinate 100 more.
All right, Katie, just an injection right now. To be honest, it was a logistical nightmare. We started our day at 7 a.m. By late afternoon, I started to feel tired, started to get back pain, and started to feel that my leg were not able to carry me.
Welcome, Doc. Thanks, buddy. Want to push down for me?
We got home and I actually gave him a little vitamin infusion just to help rejuvenate his muscles and nerves because he was in quite a lot of agony.
I was worried about him because I saw him in a situation where usually we ask him what to do, and now we're sort of thinking, what do we need to do for him, you know? Especially when he had a very high temperature and he really wasn't responding to us.
I'm very lucky. I have a very good team.
I knew that I overdone it. I worked myself to exhaustion. I don't think I was drinking enough fluid to the point that I neglected my own need.
And for the last 4 days, I haven't attended work. Well hydrated and more energetic, but I'm still taking it easy.
One of the big legacies of COVID is actually going to be the mental health impact that this has had, and not only on society as a whole, but also on people who have had to be at the front line. People like Dr. Jamal and his GP colleagues, but like so many other GPs and health professionals, he's being stoic, and he's holding it, and he's holding it, he's holding it.
All right, sir. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Be safe. Here it is.
Oh, wow. So now the plan for our retirement is not us going to pick up the motorhome, but the motorhome being delivered to us.
11 months of mating.
Yes.
Now we see it in the flesh.
Our little new home.
All right.
It's beautiful. I'd like to see him relax, and because he has worked hard all his life.
Beautiful.
Very
wow.
Nice. And I think he'd really enjoy just going around seeing different sights and, you know, soaking in the sun and the forests.
I just want to go out from here anywhere in the bush where there is no reception.
Dr. Rifi, even as a grey nomad, it's just not going to work. I know him. He's going to find something to do wherever he goes. He'll probably start setting up a mobile clinic in caravan parks, in wherever he might be.
Look, it's a dream came true.
Now we just need to be able to travel.
We'll just get after the lockdown, we can go. I am looking forward for retirement when my job is done by vaccinating almost everyone in the Canterbury Bankstown area.
We're going to be having the beach as our backyard.
We're going to have the beach.
Forest as our backyard.
I'm 62 years old, but I reckon I have the body of 82 years old. And I reckon I need to slow down right now because physically, I need to rest. How it works. Okay, just 1 sec. You see how it's done now?
This is your table if you want to eat here.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Now we can do that. Oh, no, it's perfect. At least we know how to use the coffee machine. Okay? And that's your coffee, Lana.
Thank you.